So hybrid means that all of the lectures will be posted online. You know, I record them and then I post them in YouTube, and I put a link on them on our webpage so that if you miss a lecture, no sweat, just go and watch the video. Don't get in the habit of thinking that, oh, I can miss the lectures and I'll just watch them on the video, and so you stop coming to class. Pretty much inevitably, almost everybody who does that does really poorly in the class. So, but it's nice to have the option, right? If you got to be gone, if you're sick that day, don't sweat it. It's not a disaster. You have the option of watching a video at home. That's why I take the lectures. But once you do that, don't go, hey, that was pretty cool. I'm gonna start skipping a lot of classes. That's just, you know, it's not like I fail you for missing a lot of classes. Your attendance does not count against you. However, the face-to-face interaction really helps you learn a lot, because if you get stuck, you can wave your hand and I'll come over and help. So to do this kind of stuff, you're going to need a computer. You're going to need a computer at home that you can install Python on. If you do not have a computer at home in which you can install Python, there are websites that you can use to kind of get around it. You can access, you know, an online version of Python. I'll give you an example. I'm just going to type online Python and maybe hit the top link. Yeah, there we go. Right, you know. Might be able to do that. So, hey, you can do it from your phone. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, you're probably going to want to install Python on your machine at home, because there are some additional libraries we may wind up using that are not available to the online versions. If that is the case, though, and there's some homework assignment that you can't do, but you can do the vast majority of them, like if you have a Chromebook or something that you can't install. Anyways, I'm hoping everybody has a computer. It doesn't matter whether it's Mac or whether it's a Windows or Linux, anything that you can install Python on. Well, how do I know if I can install Python on it or not? If you go out to Content, and you're going to want to do this at home, install Python 3.7.2. Well, the little numbers don't mean anything. You never know that tomorrow they may up, you know, the version number. But it's a link, and it takes you to python.org. So all you're going to need to do is on your laptop or your desktop or whatever, you're going to download Python 3.7.2 and install it. It doesn't take up much space on your computer. It's an easy install. You should be good to go. So, objectives, learn scripting with the Python language, understanding arrays, lists, dictionaries, parameter passing, class creation. Some of these things may be a bit beyond, hopefully, what you did in fundamentals. You're not going to be doing flowcharts in this class, so if you got sick and tired of doing flowcharts in 113, then you can breathe a sigh of relief. So learn to use file functions for input and output, learn how to create web pages with Python, create graphical user interface programs with Python. You know what a graphical user interface is. It's like what we're doing here, right? You know, you got buttons and fields that you can fill in and stuff like that. Because a lot of the time, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running programs in a window, right? Which is just pure text-based. And it's more fun to be able to write something that has GUI, graphical user interface elements. And then towards the end of the semester, I want to switch gears and for us to use some JavaScript. JavaScripting is completely different than Python, but it's really important, and it's another form of scripting language. It's probably more important in a great many ways than Python itself is, if you are speaking in terms of the way that the internet works. Every web page you access nowadays uses JavaScript to do stuff. If I come up here and I right-click and I do view page source or whatever, then I will probably see a whole bunch of JavaScript code embedded in the HTML. And so I want y'all to have some experience using it. We used to teach an entire class based on it, and I know that Donna Wilson is putting some of that stuff back in her HTML class. But for a while we weren't doing JavaScript much justice, and so towards the end I want us to do that. That way we can make web pages, and the web pages will be interactive, you know, and you move your mouse over something and it'll change the picture, or, you know, you can remove and, you know, add items to the page. The point of using JavaScript, the reason it was invented, is to make web pages dynamic. What does that mean? Well, you're using Amazon and you click on a menu and it, you know, and it displays a menu, and you can adjust the order numbers, you know, on your cart and stuff like that. Before the invention of JavaScript, what would happen is you would click on a button, any button on the web page pretty much, and it would have to load a brand new version of the page to come back. And, you sit there with a little wheel spinning, and especially back, since people were accessing, with 9600 baud modems or whatever, then the first, the web was an awesome invention, but, in the 1990s, it was not nearly as awesome as it is now in terms of the way that the web pages look and interact. And if you do your JavaScript programming right, then you can make it so that the page almost never has to do a reload, right? When if you're shopping online on your phone or something, you can tell when a reload happens because the screen goes blank and you get the little spinning wheel and you hope that it comes back. You can also use Python to generate web pages. That's called server-side programming. Everything we do up until that point is going to be client-side. Client meaning you. You're the client. You're running it on your own machine right here. But then out in the network somewhere, there's going to be a server that you then access, right, when you're, when you're sitting here at with your web browser, with your web client, and you access that server and you tell it that you want a web page. And it's the responsibility of that server to make the appropriate calls to generate a set of information to send back to you that you can display on a screen. Now that thing that sits behind the server and generates the web page for you can be written in all sorts of different languages, including Java, and Python is one of them. So we will want to learn how to do that as well. There are computers right over there and across the hallway, diagonally across. So if your computer's blitzed and you can't do your homework at home for a while, feel free to use the ones in there. They have everything installed on those machines that we have installed in here. So all students have email. I'm expecting that this is probably not the first semester for the vast majority of you. But you can set up your phone or your tablet or your laptop or whatever to pull in your email. It's just a Gmail account. But it's got rater.rose.edu as your suffix of your name. And hopefully when you enrolled or whatever, you got some information about how to access the web page. If you need additional help, then there are web pages. I think I put some information down at the bottom of this asking for help. So if I need to send a notice out to y'all, and it's pretty timely, like y'all guys better have this done by Thursday, then I will post a notice of it in D2l, but I will also send out email about it. If it's really, really important, I'll also send out a text message. So you'll get barraged, you'll be put on blast with a whole bunch of different notifications. I try to reserve the text messaging those for things like, okay, school's out, and ice storms, campus has been closed, you don't need to come in, that kind of thing. Or, I'm sick, I'm not going to be there. So all of our homework is going to be posted via D2l. When we use MindTap, there are also tutorials that you can do there as well. Those are not mandatory for your grade. Everything that is mandatory for your grade will be posted to D2l, also known as Brightspace, over here on the assignments page. So I'm sure that the vast majority of y'all have done that. You'll just go over here, click on the assignments page. It'll be populated with a list of folders and due dates. So you'll want to keep on track of the due dates. And everything you do, you will want to upload. Funny thing about it's fine to just upload text files and PY scripts and stuff like that into the assignments folder. You don't need to remember this until the end of the semester though, but if you zip your files using a compression program of some kind, then you're better off, because sometimes D2l will complain. And if you're using a Mac and you don't put a file name extension on your document, maybe you're used to the idea, if you're a Mac user, that I can create a file and I can just call it, resume, rather than resume.docx. But if you try to upload that to D2l, it won't work. It'll reject it. I don't know why it insists on having a, just rename your file to have the appropriate file extension. And what's worse is it doesn't tell you why it's rejecting it. You don't really have a good clue. And we'll do an example of uploading something to D2l towards the end of the class. Alrighty, so grading policy. Once you write a program, it does have to be able to run. It doesn't mean it has to be able to run correctly, but it has to be able to run. Well, what does that mean? Well, when you're writing a program, there are things known as syntax errors. And a syntax error is when something is misspelled or not formatted correctly, and the program cannot even begin to start running. Let me show you an example of that. I'm going to write a little program. Don't bother typing along with me. We'll do some type along with me in just a moment. All right. So for example, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a program that asks for my name. Name equals input, what is your name? And I misspelled that, but that's not a syntax error because it's inside a string. It's a typo, but it will go ahead and display exactly what I tell it to do. That wasn't an intentional mistake. And then we're going to do print hello name, like that. Now that's bad syntax. There has to be a comma here, or there has to be a plus sign or something. This is not going to work. But I'm going to pretend like I expect it to work. I'm just going to go and I'm going to save it. You're going to probably want to create a folder on your desktop, or if you're going to bring a flash drive every time. I love flash drives, but inevitably I lose mine. So it's a good idea, though, to not just leave all your work on your school computer, because you never know when it's going to be reformatted or swapped out with another machine. You know, it's great up until that point, and then after that point, the data is gone. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to call this test.py because it's not going to work. I'm going to run it, and it says invalid syntax. And it does try to give me a clue as to what's wrong. Sometimes the clue is pretty worthless. In this case, you know, it's highlighting the general area where the problem is. It needs a comma there. So yeah, you know, I could fix that. And then it will run. If you give me a program that does not even start running because of syntax errors, then you're not going to get any credit for it. Now that doesn't mean that you can't submit it and then say please help, right? But if you're going to do that, text me about it, right? Because if you don't give me any warning that it's not going to work, and then I load it up and it doesn't work, you know, I'm going to go and give you 1% out of 100, and I'm going to put a comment on here that says, you know, please fix it and resubmit it. A lot better off if you tell me in advance. You know, I'm stuck. I'm going to go ahead and upload it, and what I'll probably do is say, just take a picture of your screen and show me. And if I ask for that, what I want you to be able to do is to show me both the output and your code, if at all possible, or take two different pictures, right? Here's your code, you know, and there's the output if there was any. You know, just snap, send a text, snap, send a text, and I'll go, oh, you need a comma after, you know, the hello end quote. The syntax error detection does not always do a great job of telling you where the problem is. No, the problem is not that word print. What's the problem? Yeah, there's no closing parentheses. For every opening parentheses, you have to have a closing parentheses. For every opening quote, you have to have a closing quote. Now, but if this is a long string of stuff, right, then you may not even be able to tell that there was no closing parentheses, right? And so then when you run it and it shows an error and you just cannot figure out why it's telling you there's an error there, look on the line above it. If it's not obvious why this line is at fault, look at the line above it and you'll figure it out. And eventually you'll get to the point where you go, oh yeah, I understand. But, you know, at first, especially if you haven't done any Python programming before, then some of these things will mystify you. And that's why we also do some programming in class. I don't just sit here and lecture for, you know, an hour and a half and then send you on your way. And sometimes we pop open, you know, the development tools and we all type in the code together. Now, if you don't like typing in code while I'm up here typing in code, that's okay. I still want you to upload something at the end of the day just saying that you attended, or not at the end of the day, at the end of class, saying that you attended. I think you get more out of it if you go ahead and type along with what I'm doing and you get your program working, because that serves as your notes for the day, right? You upload those and then you have the program. I can wander around and help everybody, make sure everybody's got it working. So I do recommend, but I do not demand that, you know, everybody type along as I am typing up here. And when I say type along, I mean during the programming sections of the class. So when you are ready to submit your program, I would like for you to submit the source code, which is the PY file, and a screenshot of it running. Screenshots are easy to do, you know, whichever operating system you're using. And I don't remember the special keys that you use on the Mac or whatever. It's real simple on the PC. You just hit a certain key, the print screen button, and then you go into something like Word or Paint and you click paste, and there you have your screenshot. And if there's lots of other ways of doing it, and if you know better ways of doing it, then you don't have to do it my way. You can go, that's stupid, I know how to use Windows 10 now. Or, you know, whatever, that's fine. I like for y'all to know more than I, but I will show you the bare minimum that'll work, you know, on every version of Windows back, you know, to the 90s. I want the screenshot and the PY file. If you do not give me a screenshot, I may not give you any credit at all. I may ask you to submit it. I might give you some credit. I might give you full credit, but submit the screenshot. And the reason the screenshot is really important is that it shows you got it working, right? We just had some code here. And, you know, if I run it, and I get some good input or output, yeah, all right, I'm going to take a screenshot of that and I'm going to be done. And kind of get your source code in screen as well if you possibly can, or you can, you know, submit 2 pictures, whatever. It really only takes a couple of extra minutes to get that going. Now, the reason I want you to do that is because if there's a mistake, you're going to feel real foolish about turning in a program that shows that, right? You know, it will, you know, spur you to actually get it working before you send it to me. Now, just because there are no syntax errors doesn't mean that the program is working correctly. But if there are syntax errors, I can't even test it. I can't figure out what it's doing. But if you've included a screenshot and it looks like the program was running correctly, and then I try to run it and it fails, then I go, well, you got it working right. What's wrong? And I may go and find that, you know, that some letter was accidentally deleted or whatever, you know. And usually I can just like change one little thing and I'll get it to work and then it'll match your screenshot. So, you know, in that case you'd get full credit for it anyways, because I would know that you did the work and then something happened to the program before you upload it. When you submit the assignment, there's a place where you can add a comment. If something is not working correctly, go ahead and put a comment there. If it's a complete surprise to me when I open it and it doesn't work, I get irate. You know, that's a drag. But if you put a comment in there, you know, it doesn't write to the file, but it does everything else. You know, I'll go, okay, you know, and then we'll work together on fixing it. It would have been better if you texted me to begin with, but, you know, whenever you submit something, you may as well put a comment there, you know, saying, you know, that it didn't work if, in fact, it's not running correctly. So the grading policy is pretty traditional. It's going to be A, B, C, D, and F, you know, 90, 80, 70, 60, and 0. So y'all are used to that. A third of your grade, hereabouts, well, 30% is based on the programs that you write at home. Another 30% are based on the stuff that we type in here, and then you upload at the end of the class. Then we will have quizzes and exams, and this includes stuff on MindTap on the CEngage website, where you'll go and you'll do quizzes there, and then I may additionally post additional quizzes of our own, and I'll make very clear where those are. And then a final project. Final project's a chance for you to show off towards the end, and where you get to write something that you want to do rather than just, you know, following all the rules that I make up. Now, for the final project, I'll give you a list of projects that you can pick from, but you're also free to come up with your own, and that's actually kind of more interesting. So if you do not submit a screenshot, you'll get partial credit at best. If you cannot get your program to meet the requirements of the assignment, all the syntax errors are fixed, but it's just not behaving correctly, go ahead and submit it and then put in the comments field when you upload it that it wasn't working. And I may give you partial credit for that, right? You know, if it does almost all, you know, I may give you an 85% on it. I will almost always give you the option of correcting your assignment and resubmitting it, right? Because in the real world, you know, if you have to write something and you've got a deadline on it, you get it working, you ship it, but if there's something wrong, you then turn around and fix it, right? You know, y'all are all used to the idea, you know, that game developers have to debug their games and stuff like that based on the input of the people who send the games out. Same thing, right? You're going to make a product, you're going to give it to me, but if I find something wrong, you're going to need to fix it. So what I'll do is where I grade it. If you earn 100%, no, I'm not expecting you to do anything else to it. But if you look at your grade and it's less than 100%, I probably say what's wrong. It may just be that I said, okay, the program is late, so you're getting knocked off some credit. But if there's something specifically wrong, you know, it's not saving to the right file name or it crashes if I type in a 0, that kind of stuff, then I'll give you your grade and I'll put a comment on there saying, go ahead, revise your program and resubmit for more credit. And usually you'll be able to get an A on it, you know, by doing that. So the reason I do that is because in the real world, you usually get a chance. You know, you're supposed to meet your deadlines, but once you've met your deadline, you know, if there are things to fix, I want to give you the option to do that. It's more important to me to give you the option to learn fully the assignment. And if you just get frustrated and throw your hands up and submit it, you know, and you never go back to it, then you won't have learned fully from the assignment. So partial credit may be awarded for assignments that do not meet the full criteria if it's just not behaving correctly. If you only receive partial credit, then you can revise and resubmit. I'll put the comment there to that effect. Generally, programming assignments are due 1 week from the day they are assigned. So if I'm up here talking about some homework, it's going to be due the following Tuesday, right? Today's Tuesday, you'll have a week to do it. The due dates will be spelled out very critically. You know, or, you know, if you go to D2l, you'll see the due dates listed. You do have to complete at least 50% of the whole programming assignments to pass the course. And what do I mean by that? If you go up here and you look and you go, well, you know, all I have to do is come into class and type along with the professor, and then I can ace the quizzes and the exams. That'll get me up to 60%, and maybe I can just do, you know, a little bit of homework to try to get a C. No, you have to actually get 50% of your programs up and running. So if there are 10 homework assignments, you're going to have to get at least 5 of them up and running. Really, you're going to want to get more than that. Just saying, if it gets towards the end of the semester and you've got a lot of points stored in other places, but you don't have any points left in your programming homework, you're not going to like what your final grade will be. But we'll be communicating on that via the grades page as we go along. So you may have heard instructors have been strongly urged not to give incomplete grades out. Instead, like if you were taking the course, but then you had to, you know, stop attending class for the last month or whatever, and you were hoping to get it incomplete, what the instructor will do, including me, is give you whatever grade you've earned up to that point, right? Well, you missed the final, you know, and a bunch of things due at the end. You didn't get your project in, so you had been making an A. Now you're making a C. What I would do is I would record the C, but then you and I would work together so that, you know, over the break or, you know, the next couple of weeks or month, you know, after the class was over, you went ahead and finished the work, and then I would file the grade change, and you would get an A on it. So, works the same way as an incomplete. It's just that if students see that letter grade sitting there, then they're more, you know, people tend to think that an incomplete means that, you know, they don't really have to go back and do it. But if it's got a final letter grade on it, then it does. There are specific circumstances where an incomplete can be given, but that's we're generally told not to. You know, and there are some certain rules for it. You must have completed 70% of the total work and done this and done that. So we'll just say that you get whatever grade you earn, but if there was a reason that you weren't able to complete all your work, talk to me about it and be talking about it with me the whole time, right? As soon as you start getting behind in your work, let me know and we'll work on it together. Late assignment. Take-home homework will be accepted up to 7 days late. That doesn't mean I want you to be late. Each additional day Each additional week is another 10% deduction. No assignment is accepted more than 4 weeks late. So, means you can be late and it won't kill your grade, but don't rely on that, because if you get behind on your homework, then you're not going to be able to do the next homework assignment, you're not going to be able to do the next homework assignment, and so on. So, try to get your programs in on time. Absolutely important that you do so. However, you do have a little bit of a leeway, so you don't have to go into a stone cold panic that, oh my gosh, I have something due tomorrow and I forgot. Right, I didn't even upload it. So, and in-class assignments must be completed. The in-class ones are the ones that we sit here and type in together. It's not like you get a 10% per week off for not doing them, but after a month, you're not going to be able to upload anything into the Dropbox anymore. The in-class ones are the ones that you will want to watch at home. If you have to miss that day, you'll just want to watch the lecture and then either fill out a form saying that you watched the lecture at home, or you're going to want to go ahead and type in the assignment. You're going to want to upload one or the other. So penalties for late assignments might be waived at my discretion if you discuss it with me, preferably before the due date, right? I got to go, take care of, my aunt's estate or whatever in Florida, so I'm not going to be here for a week. Okay, great, I understand. Apparently I have a typo there. I have a syntax error. I'm going to give myself a 0. Quizzes need to be submitted by the due date. The way that my quizzes work is that you can take them over and over until you get the grade that you want. So if you take a quiz and you only get a 40% on it, you go, oh, well, I don't like that. You take it again, you get your 80. You take it again, you get your 100. Because to me it's more important. The quizzes are not the measuring tool. Instead, they are a learning tool, right? And then the exams are based on the material that you saw in the quizzes. And those you don't get to take over and over, right? You take your exam and that's it. So attendance, we've talked about that already. There's no deduction for missed classes, but as a general rule, students who attend classes and do not miss do better. Now, this does not apply to anyone who is here, but if you miss the first 2 weeks of a class, you just don't come in, don't do any of the homework or whatever, then you will be dropped from the course and an AW recorded on the transcript. And if anybody was giving you any money to go to school, then they will come and they will chase you and they will get their money back. It used to be that people would do some kind of frauds where, they'd get money and they'd go to school, but they wouldn't actually attend the school, and then they, would apply and go to school again. I don't know how they did that, but nowadays these things get recorded as AWs. Usually it doesn't happen, but I've had people 4 weeks into the semester suddenly email me saying, I can't get into the website, I can't get into D2l, and I will look, and yeah, they got an AW because they haven't turned in anything or attended any class in the first 3 weeks, right? And I'll wonder why they didn't actually start until 4 weeks in, and then they get upset that they were dropped from the course. It's important to go to the first week of class. And y'all know that because you're already here. Okay, I made another syntax error there. We're not learning C++, we're learning Python. Alrighty, so things that I expect of you, you need to be able to have access to the internet. Fortunately, just about everybody does. You need to attend a class and watch the videos for the missed lectures. Please keep up with the schedule and the due date. Please communicate with the professor about problems with the class. Be checking D2l for updates. Also email, like I said, if there's a notice that I think is of time critical, I will email it out as well as post it to D2l. Please read and use the required text. And if you're stuck and then I ask if you've read the chapter and you say no, then I'm going to tell you to read the chapter. And you're probably telling me, well, I'm not a visual learner. I need to learn some other way. Yeah, I understand that, but you still need to give the textbook a try. You're paying money for it, so you've got to try it. Do complete your assignments on time, and really important, ask for help when needed. All right. Things not to do in class. Don't sit there and watch Twitch streams, in the middle of class. Don't sit in the back, with your portable gaming device playing, Street Fighter 2 against each other. I'm naming things that have actually happened. Yeah. So don't do stuff that will distract the person sitting behind you. So don't be putting, material on your screen that's more interesting than me, right? Because then the person behind you is going to be watching you better than me. When vapes were first introduced, people thought that meant that they could smoke them in class. No. if I modify this syllabus, I will post notice and email notice about it. So, that we're all on the same page. I will get homework graded within a week of submission, and if there are errors in your homework, you will be offered the chance to correct and revise to earn more points. If you email me, you should get a response within 24 hours. Now, I can't say that if it's the weekend, I may slip a little on that, but if you text me, I just about never slip on the text, so that's the fastest way to get a hold of me. Of course, some things, email feels better. But even if you write an email, it's not a bad idea to text me and say, hey, I wrote an email, can you go look at it? Right, because then I can jump on it right away. Expectations of your instructor. I should be providing clear instructions for assignments. If you look at the assignment and you don't understand what I'm asking, it's probably my fault, not yours. I'm perfectly capable of writing things that nobody else can understand. So, ask me. Say, I don't understand it, please explain it. And if I get like 2 of those messages, I'm going to know that I completely botched it and I need to explain it to everybody, or I need to rewrite the instructions. So I will answer questions regarding assignments, whether you pose them in person, email, phone, or text. I will grade the assignments and give feedback for work that needs to be corrected. I will always give a week's notice of due assignments and 2 weeks' notice of exams. And I will post all assignments, notices, PowerPoints, and reading assignments on D2l. Okay, now academic integrity. There's like 20 paragraphs about that. It can be summed up as don't cheat. How could you cheat? Well, you might ask your friend. He got the program working. You can't get it working. You say, can I look at your code? I just need to see what I'm doing wrong. And so they send you their code and you submit it instead. No, don't submit anybody else's work. Because what happens is then that person gets a 0 on that assignment as well as you, and they're usually pretty unhappy that you turned in their work. Other things that you can try to do that I strongly don't want you to do, and that will be counted as academic dishonesty, is taking work off the internet. Like if I say write a Hangman program, and I give you specific instructions for how a Hangman program is supposed to work, and you Google up Hangman Python, you're going to find 8,000 different Hangman programs out there. You go, ha, 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 and you copy it and you submit it. No, don't do that. Don't do that. I can tell whether something is using techniques that we didn't learn in class, and then I can usually find the exact web page that you got your code from. So if you're stuck on something, it's okay to Google. All programmers do that. But what you do is you find out how to correct the syntax or correct the problem. You don't take the work that you find there and submit it as your own work, because that's plagiarism. Just like if you copy something out of a textbook, you copy it out of a book in a paper that you're going to turn in for an English composition, and you don't credit it to anybody, then you're going to get in trouble. So plagiarism is a serious deal. The consequences are pretty dang serious. What happens is I fill out a form. Well, I'll let you know, and then I'll fill out a form that'll get sent, downstairs to the dean, and then it'll get sent, to another office, and at the very least, you'll get a 0 on that assignment. And likely to be dropped from the class. So it's really important. So don't Google up something and then copy and paste it and upload it. Like I said, it's okay to Google, find out how to fix your program, but don't submit a program that you find on the internet. I can almost always tell. And you don't want to gamble on your grade. You don't want to gamble on being kicked out, right? It's a real drag when you get to the end of the class and somebody does that for their final project, and they've been here for 15 weeks, really sweating their hearts out, and then on their final project, it's obviously copied off the internet. And I go, so, don't do that. If the professor determines that you did not do your own work, or that you let someone else copy your work, both students involved in that will get an F on it. Where it becomes a risk is I encourage y'all to work together during the classroom portion of it. When we're sitting here and we're typing along the stuff together, what I have to do is I have to wander around front to back and make sure that everybody's got their code running, but you may have yours running, in which case it's totally okay for you to look over, and say, hey, all you need to do is insert a tab there. That's totally cool. Y'all can look at each other's screen all you want during the programming section of the class. Not during exams, right? but during the programming section. And then y'all develop a relationship, y'all get used to working together, and you think that you're going to do your homework together. Please don't do that. The other thing is when you have multiple people using the same computer in an apartment or something like that, and people just want to write at once, because they're all sitting there, and don't do that either. Free personal counseling. Never be ashamed to ask for help. So if you've got PTSD, trauma, grief, you're struggling with substance abuse, there's, abusive, partners in your relationships or whatever, just go and ask for help. I don't hear about it, it's entirely private, and you can go and you can get some help. I have been asked to intervene one time. Somebody told me that they had been physically assaulted by an instructor at another school. And so I had to contact our, school, and we sent them to the counselor here, and that instructor faced, severe consequences at their other school, and so the process worked the way that it should. Take advantage of that. If you have, situations that make it difficult for you to follow along and do the work, the Americans with Disabilities Act, not only do there have to be elevators to get to the class, but your instructors need to take accommodations of your needs. And so you can work with what the Student Access Services, which used to be called the Office of Disability Services, and you can fill out a form with their help that'll tell me what you need. Do you need additional time to complete assignments? Do you need to sit in the front row? Do you need to be able to make a recording of the class? Yeah, of course, that's fine. I don't care if you stick a camera, pointed at me. I'm recording these lectures anyways. Why not, have a different one? So whatever you need to ask for, they'll help you fill out a form. You'll bring it to me, and I'll help you. So all the accommodations must be approved of by Student Access Services. So you can't just, make up a request that they have the categories of the things that I'm allowed to offer, right? That are you can expect of me to help you with. So mental health concerns are stressful events that lead to diminished academic performance and so on. Personal counseling. Now I'm not really sure the difference between that one and that one. It looks like a complete duplicate of the page of the paragraph. The Student Success Center, designed to help students' personal growth, professional development, conveniently housed in the Student Services Building. Why don't we just click that link and see what kind of stuff is there offered for us to look at. Study skills, scholarships, unlock your potential to learn, math anxiety, resumes and job searches, stuff like that. Take advantage of as much of the goodies. You're paying money to come to school, and you may as well grab all that you can get from it. Rose Bookstore. You know what? I always just type in rose.edu space bookstore into Google, and it takes me there. But if you ever wanted to memorize a URL, there it is. And the Student Handbook, which is where you find information about audits and other policies. So login assistance, not that you're going to have access to this page if you're stuck, right? Unless you print this out and stick it in a notebook. But you can get online support for a lot of problems. And I would go ahead and add the Rose IT Help Desk number to your phone, so that if you ever get stuck and you can't log in, you can call them and they'll help you, like your password gets locked or something like that. Somebody else tried to log in as you. D2l, if you get stuck using D2l, there's the D2l Help Desk, and I use this. All the instructors have to use it just as much as you. We don't have secret ways of getting help about D2l. Yeah, we could send them email, but they don't want email. They want us all to use the same form, and so you follow. You go here and you say, I can't log in, or I can't take the quiz, or something like that, and they'll figure it out, and they'll probably send me a nasty gram saying what I did wrong, and you'll be up and running pretty soon. By the way, if you get a link like this in a Word document, and I assume it's the same in PDFs, if you hold the Control key down or Command on your Mac and click on it, that's how it opens it up. Because it might not always work that way, because it might think that I'm trying to edit the text, right? Okay, if you're going to drop with a full refund, you better do it by next week. The last day to drop period is in April. We have a spring break coming up. Woohoo. We have final exams. Our particular exam is on a Tuesday. And then here's a page just full of all the final exams for all your classes based on, what day. All right. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of a program up and running just for funsies, just so that y'all have something to upload into D2l and we can make sure that we have all followed those steps. Wait, why don't I go into content and before we do that, make sure I've talked about everything I want to talk about. So not only the syllabus is there, but if you go to class information, you'll see some other documents, such as my office schedule. I don't think this is right, Roy. I will update that. Login help and IT support. Taking screenshots of your work. That's a good one. If you get stuck, you don't know how to take screenshots, no shame, just go and learn it. That is completely nuts. I'm looking for a specific document and I'm not finding it. Here it is. The lecture video form. If you can't attend a class and you watch the lecture, I would prefer for you to work along with it and go ahead and write the program just like we were doing in class. However, I know that it can be a pain to try to write code, unless you have a 2-monitor setup, Maybe your monitors are so nice and big and awesome that you can run a YouTube window over here and you can have your code editor working over here and you can, but if you don't want to type along with the video, you just fill out the form instead. Your name. Which video did you watch? The date watched. Did you look at the daily notes for the video? And what did you learn from the video? Please write at least 4 sentences describing what you learned. In other words, convince me that you actually watched it. Okay, so the guy who programmed Python was a fan of the Monty Python's Flying Circus. And one of the actors in that, one of the authors in that, is a guy named Eric Idle. And so he chose the name Idle as the text editor. I don't know why. He could have used Cleese as well, but I guess Idle was easier to type. So anyways, what you're going to want to do is, I see it listed here, but if you didn't see it listed here, you can come in and you can type Idle. And it will pop up a list of all the programs, that are named Idle.
Can't we use Notepad++?
How are you going to run the program once you do that? If you know how to do all this and you're comfortable using Notepad, I'm totally okay with you doing that. You can use whatever Python development environment you want. And I know there's at least one other one installed on here, PyCharm. So yeah, whatever. But I'm not going to be able to tell you how to run your Python programs using Notepad++, so that's just up to you. I'm assuming since you're asking that you've done it before.
I have it on mine.
Okay, so I'm going to launch. Whenever you launch Idle, it takes us into what's known as the shell. Sorry, I clicked on PyCharm, which is the alternate one. It's a really nice editor, but Idle comes installed on every. When you install Python, Idle comes with it, and you don't have to install anything additional, so that's why I tend to teach using it. Please go away. Okay, anyways. Okay, when you launch Idle, it's going to take you to what's known as a shell. The interactive shell, you can type in commands and it will run them on the spot. You're not actually writing a program there, but you're interacting with Python. And what do I mean by that? If I go into this and it says shell up at the top and you see those 3 arrows there, don't start entering a program there. If you're going to write a program, you're going to do file new. But you can do things like this. A is equal to, Bob. A is equal to quote Bob quote, and then print parentheses A, right? So you are entering Python commands, and it will run them instantly. So that's known as the shell. But what we want to do is we want to write a program or a script, and a script is the entire series of commands, all in one shebang, right? So that you can then give that to me as your homework, and if you wanted to give it to somebody else to run, you could do that. And if you were going to tell somebody, how to write something that would pull some information off the internet, you would not want to give them a printed, list of things that they needed to type. Instead, you'd write them a program that they were going to run. So that's what we're going to do. Well, we're not going to be accessing. Yeah, we're going to do File, New File. Always do that just as a matter of course. As soon as you load, in fact, there's a way to configure idle so that it will launch into a programming window. And if you do want to work with another editor and you know how to do that, that's totally cool. I did get Python to work with an editor called TextPad. But I teach idle. So save as. Never save anything into the guts of the Python directories. Whenever you do a save or save as, it offers to put it in program files 86 Python 36-32 or whatever. Don't stick it in the guts of there. You will eventually wind up breaking Python to the point where it will not even load. And that becomes quite a bit of a little mystery. And then we have to go and have you uninstall it and reinstall it, and it's a real drag. So, unfortunately, we can't accept the default place. So you're going to want to create some folder somewhere. I'm just going to call mine 1203, and then I'm going to copy, bookmark over here to my favorites so that I can always get to it. You can save it wherever you want. Just don't save it into the guts of the Python directory that you were seeing there at the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to call this one Jan22 because that happens to be today's date, January 22. And if you don't give it an extension, it will give it the extension of .py for you. So what is this going to do? We're going to write a little program that's just going to do a couple of steps. Go ahead and put your name up at the top of it. I would like to see you add a comment header block like this to the top of all the code that you write. I probably will not always remember to do this, when I'm sitting in here typing code for y'all to respond, right? But CIT1203, whatever, first day demo, whatever. All right, now I'm going to type in some commands. And it's okay if you don't know what these do. You probably do. If you've taken 1113, you will recognize this stuff. Hey, what? Print. What is your name? And when I'm typing things off, sometimes I don't say absolutely everything you need to know. Print, parentheses, quote, what is your name? Question mark, end quote, end parentheses. And a name equals input, parentheses, close parentheses. So we're telling Python to display a message, and then we're going to give the user a chance to type in something, and those results will be stored into that. A variable called name, which contains the information, whatever they type in there. But that's only one piece of information. That's kind of boring. Let's ask them for something else. What is your age? So print, parentheses, quote, what is your age? End quote, end parentheses. Now half of y'all probably know that we could be combining these into one step, right? You don't have to print and then do an input. You can do both at the same time. I don't care if you revise your code as we're going along to be more efficient than what I'm putting up here. So age is equal to float parentheses age. All right, now we have all of our input. So we're going to say new age equals age plus 1. We're just going to add 1 to whatever amount that they typed in. If we said that we're 28, then new age is going to equal 29. So these things on the left-hand side of the equal sign are known as variables, and they contain the data that the user is typing in or that we tell it to calculate, the result of a calculation. All right, now we're going to print out some output. So print, parentheses, quote, hello, comma, end quote. Now I'm going to take that comma out. Hello, space, end quote, comma, name, end parentheses, and then print, quote, tomorrow you will be, no, wait, next year you will be, end quote, comma, new age, comma, years old. Period, end quote, in parentheses.
Can I use plus for it?
You can use plus as well, and that's a very good question. I will show you both ways of doing it. Very good question. I don't think we're going to get out of here early after all, but that's okay. Get our money's worth. So when I run it, it's asking me, what is your name? My name's Fred. Not really. And it blew up. Anybody see what I did wrong? I see what I did wrong, but I know that some of y'all have probably already spotted it. What it just told me is that age did not exist by the time it got to this variable, this line. Problem is that I never let them type it in. I have to have an input statement for every single thing that they're going to type in. So I need to add a line, and this was not intentional, but it's a good example of, of a program with an error in it. So above the line that says age is equal to float age, we're going to do age equals input, parentheses in parentheses. What is your name? Fred. What is your age? I'm 90. Hello, Fred. Next year you will be 91.0 years old. Maybe we don't like seeing that 0.0 there, right? Maybe we just want to see 91. We could work on doing some cleanup there. Now the suggestion was, why not use plus signs rather than the commas? What a plus symbol does, if it's not being used with numbers, is it does what's known as string concatenation. Like that. I'm putting an exclamation mark at the end of the hello message. And I'm separating all of this with plus signs. That's going to work just fine. And it will display the message. And then it says, hello, Fred, with an exclamation mark at the end. When do you want to use a comma? When do you want to use a plus sign? Well, you can always use plus signs, but if you use the plus signs, you have to take care of the spacing yourself. If this space was missing, and I use a plus sign, then it says, hello, Fred, with no space there. If you use commas, it automatically puts the comma there for you. There are times when using the plus sign gets a little bit more complicated than you would like. Like, what if I want to put a plus sign there? Because I thought that that's what I wanted to do. That will work, but it won't work. There's something we would have to do to fix it, and I'm not going to bother fixing it at this point. I'm just going to show you that it's a problem. And it blows up. It says, it must be a string, not a float. What does that mean? That means that this data is numeric data. We took a value, we added one to it, we have a new number. And then using a plus sign means that we're trying to concatenate two strings together, put two strings together. But if one of them is not a string, it blows up. Won't work because you can't add a non-string to a string with a plus sign. But you could convert it into a string if you really wanted to. But that's more complex than what I was hoping to do on our first day. So I'm probably going to hit undo and undo all this stuff. But that would work. The only bug is that since I didn't put spaces in my strings, right? It says 91.0 years. Yeah, right. It's all blurred together. I need to add the spaces there. Instead, I'm just going to go back to the way it was with commas. There we go. All right. Anybody getting syntax errors? Would you like my eyeballs on your screen to help? Totally okay. All right. Just a sec. So one more thing I want to note about our program before we upload it is that if we run it but we type in invalid data, now a name could be pretty much anything and it's not going to crash it, right? I can type in garbage there and it's just going to say hello 098 whatever. But when it asks for a number, if I typed in something that was not a number, I am 12, right? If I did not type in something that was digits, it's going to blow up because it's going to try to convert whatever we typed in there into a number so that we can do math with it. And the computer has no idea what that is, right? So this is what's known as a runtime error rather than a syntax error. The syntax is correct, but at runtime, we got some invalidated. We got into a state. The program reached a state where it could not proceed, and so it gave up, right? Because it did not know how to convert that. One of our goals will be to write programs that do not crash just because the user typed in something that they shouldn't. It's bad form, right? You don't want a program to crash. You would instead want to ask the user, invalid input, please re-enter it. It'd be kind of a drag if your moon lander, computer on it crashed because, a sensor was giving it invalid data. Instead, it would be programmed in order to accommodate that. So now that I have my program running, I'm going to make a Dropbox for it so that we can submit it, but I want everybody to take a screenshot of the results. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it one more time, and I'm going to get it working, hopefully. Well, I just typed in something and I didn't know what I was doing, so I'm going to try it again. Okay, so you don't sweat getting all your code on the screen because it's likely that your programs are going to get longer than they'll fit on one page or whatever. Don't sweat getting everything positioned perfectly. Just get both things on the screen at the same time, and then hit the print screen button, which is above the insert and delete key. It's next to the F12. Just hit the print screen button, and then go into Paint or Word or something like that. Any document editing program of your choice. I'm going to use Word. And paste. So you can right-click. Well, right-click paste didn't work, so I'm going to hit Control-V. The powers that be decided that Control-V is the key for pasting. There's always another way to do that. All right, now I have a screenshot that I can save and upload. For in-class work, I don't really care if you submit screenshots or not. I'm just doing this because this is what you're going to be doing at home when you write your work. So you would save it. Go ahead and save it to a good directory. I'm going to put it back in my CIT directory. I'm going to give it today's date, Jan 22. Click Save. And then when I submit it, I can submit that to the Dropbox that I'm going to create. I would also like the PY file. And they got saved into the same directory because when I did my save as from Word, it went into the same directory. And like I said, after today, I don't care whether you do this for the in-class stuff, but I want you to do it for the homework. What homework? Well, your homework is going to be to install Python on your home computer and launch idle and make it print out your name and take a screenshot of that and upload it. Now you probably, if you've taken 103, you already have Python installed, and so it's going to be really easy. I'll post the instructions for downloading Python. I've already showed you a link to it in the content. So let's see. Today is day A. First program. Nope, we did not get out early after all. Okay. So if you log into D2l and you get into our class, you're going to click Assignments. Then you're going to click A, First Program, so that you can then submit the file.
Would you like us to zip them, or?
You don't have to zip them, no. It's nice if you do. It's not a must. The only time it will become an absolute must is when we get to the point where we're uploading HTML, because it strips everything out of the HTML documents. So I click on the folder, I click Add a File. I'm going to go and upload those files. I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of y'all know how to do this, but I'm going to do so now. I'm just going to use shift-click to get two files at the same time, open, and that's like adding an email attachment. Just because you've added an attachment doesn't mean that I'm going to receive it. You actually have to click submit as well, just like the send button on email. And I went past it too fast, but there's a comments place where you could have added a comment. Yeah. Couldn't get this one done. Doesn't do blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I will make a folder with the instructions. That's going to be your homework. Install Python. Get that done by Tuesday. I'm sure that most of y'all already have it, but get it done by Tuesday. If you get stuck, text me. If you came in late, then I'm going to need to know that you're here. And so you're going to want to come up and tell me that you are here. And I will see y'all Thursday. Yes, sir.
No, you're not. It's basically the same thing as screenshot. That's all it's doing. I've heard you sending polls more easier for me.
To be honest, I don't really
No shit to get something to do last semester. Something I could put on the file. It's got that right there. If you get yourself over there, click and drag it, boom. And you don't have to worry about clicking upload on there. And I've actually disposed all right there.
I figured all that out first semester.
Oh, I figured that out by just seeing you doing it on screen and stuff, those files up there, like,
I
that's pretty damn
didn't
cool.
make it very clear when I was asking. What I meant was, like, would it use the book be fine, since all the assignments are being submitted through D2l?
Youth book grading section, I'm going to have access to C-Engage, so the online courses there, which are part of the grade. So
Oh, okay.
actually not.
So whenever you send it on there, you also have the email.
You could buy it to have a physical copy of the text, but you're going to wind up
On that?
Yeah, when you submit it on there,
C-Engage anyway.
Well, okay,
You
I
also
just
get
wanted to
one.
be sure.
right,
I
so
wish.
I didn't,
email saying, hey, you
I
submitted
didn't feel like I made it very clear what I was trying to ask.
I didn't ask the correct questions, so yeah,
It's
thanks.
fine. Am I able to buy the code separately? I don't remember if I am able to.
Right, once the link is posted, you'll click on the link and it'll ask for a code or it'll say purchase. And so you can purchase it right on the spot at that point.
If you do the unlimited things, actually, if you have more than one class that uses it, I would definitely recommend the unlimited.
Oh, I know, I've used it before, but I think this might be the only class,
Uh,
which is why I was hoping that I wouldn't need it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, my thing is mine worked out perfectly because I had two classes with Haynes last semester, and she used